Good afternoon. A warm welcome to our principal, our headmaster, judges, our guests, staff, participants, parents, and the students of the Laidlaw Memorial School. Before we begin this program, I would like to ask our headmaster, Mr. Nelthrop, to read us in prayer.
May we close our eyes and bow our heads for prayer. Our gracious and loving Father, we come before your blessed throne this afternoon to thank and praise you for the wonderful privilege you've given us to call upon your name. Especially this afternoon, Lord, we pray that you'll be with each child who is participating. We thank you for all their efforts in the previous debates that has brought them to this final round to choose the best speaker. We pray that you would be with them, give them clarity. We pray that they will be able to put forth their points and views strongly. Especially this afternoon, we also ask you to be with our judges who have a difficult job to listen carefully and to make the best judgment possible. We thank you for all the efforts of all the housemasters and housemistresses and the prefects and all the hard work that has gone in. We thank you for it. We commit this program and everything that we are supposed to do into your care. We ask you to bless our school, bless all the members of the Board of Management and their families, the principal and his family, all the staff and their families, and all the students and their families. We thank you that in spite of this pandemic, you have given us the opportunity to have this event. We place it in your care. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I now request our Deputy Head Girl, Yolanda, to welcome the gathering.
Good afternoon to the principal, the headmaster, judges, teachers, participants, and everybody else present here. Today, we are all gathered here on this virtual platform to witness the best speaker debate for the juniors. The topic given for the speakers to debate upon today is physical school should begin in 2021. There are so many pros and cons that lead up to this topic. I bet each and every one of us is going to enjoy the participants' speech and rebuttal with no doubt. All the best to the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, Yolanda. A competition is not possible if we do not have judges and participants. It is a privilege for me to introduce our judges. Our first judge is Mrs. Deborah Fox. She's a member of our Board of Management. To begin with, she is a proud Georgian herself. Ma'am started her life in our school at the tender age of 5 with her brother and a sister, and continued here for a decade. Ma'am was a successful business partner for 20 years. For the last decade, Ma'am is working with many people from different parts of the world and has incorporated them in various offices in Bangalore. Ma'am, we welcome you to this evening of debate. Welcome, ma'am.
Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you very much.
Our second judge is Mrs. Pamela Clark. Ma'am started her career as a postgraduate teacher at St. Columbus in high school in Chennai. Ma'am relocated to Nilgiris in 2000 as a principal of St. Hinda's School, where she has served for 13 years. Before moving to Tirupur to set up an ICSC co-ed school. After a short span of 2 years, Ma'am returned to Nilgiris and contributed her service as an education consultant to many schools here. Ma'am has worked as a senior coordinator at the St. Joseph's Academy in Kuno and is currently the academic coordinator for the International Community School and Junior College at Kotagiri. We welcome you, ma'am. Our third judge, Mr. Stephen George, is an entrepreneur from Ooty, a branded identity designer with 15 years of experience working with corporates, NGOs. He loves reading, cycling, hiking, playing squash, and going on road trips. We welcome you, sir. In this final round of debate for the juniors, we have 10 participants, the best from the previous 3 rounds. The topic for today is physical school should begin by August 2021. As with all decisions to be made, listening to the pros and cons of the situation can help clarify what is really being decided on. It is up to each individual to weigh the entries on each side of a balance sheet. You may feel one aspect is more important than the other, while your friend or your opponent may place opposite values on the same ideas. So let us listen to the views put forth by our participants. All the best to all the participants. Our first set of participants will be Neelam and Melvina. Melvina will be speaking for the topic and Neelam will speak against the topic. Yes, Melvina, you can start your debate.
Good afternoon to our principal, honorable judges, teachers, parents, students, and all who are present here. I, Melvina Filbert of class 9, representing Hamilton House, firmly speak for the topic physical school should begin by August 2021. As we all know, the outbreak of the virus COVID-19, which began around February 2019, unfortunately, from that time, we have started our lockdowns, which has affected our schoolings in many ways. As this was unpredicted during a very crucial time of the final examinations and board exams, it is till date that we are not able to overcome the losses of practical school life. Many students thrive on face-to-face contact with their educators. Students especially perform better when in a classroom with an engaging teacher to help and guide them in their work. It has caused many students, parents, and teachers to experience the online education system, which has also put many at financial expenses of procuring mobile phones, laptops, tabs, network connections, and more. In many areas, there are poor network connections where students and teachers have communicating problems, even though the presence of both are there, but still there is a communication gap. There is nothing like a face-to-face interaction in a classroom where students and teachers interact in a personal way, meaning doubts and queries are clarified and explained, which is more effective. The teachers and management are also under a lot of stress with time scheduling. Our outdoor activities, such as athletics, cross-country, and games, cannot be performed in an online class, which has reduced the enthusiasm of many students. Having a break off even during summer and winter vacations, students do go down in their memory status. Now, since it's been 18 months, it's a really high time that we get back to our normal way in the classroom, not forgetting the precautions that have to be taken from the lessons learned from the pandemic, namely social distancing, hygienic hand washing, wearing masks, and also awaiting the vaccine, which is yet to be introduced for children under 18. So therefore, I conclude my speech by saying the sooner the schools open, it's beneficial for our students. Thank you.
1 minute. Judges, was it clear enough for you all to judge?
Do you have a recording of us?
Yes, sir.
That's what I'm saying. It'll give her a fair chance to, if we already have recordings of all the children. So in case they don't work or something happens with the networking, we can play the recording. I think it will be fair enough if we can share a recording, please.
Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir.
Afternoon to our principal, honorable judges, teachers, parents, students, and all who are present here. I, Melvina Filbert of class 9, representing Hamilton House, firmly speaks for the topic physical school should begin by August 2021. As we all know, the outbreak of the virus COVID-19, which began around February 2019, unfortunately, from that time, we have started our lockdowns, which has affected our schooling in many ways. As this was unpredicted during a very crucial time of the final examinations and board exams, it is till date that we are not able to overcome the losses of practical school life. Many students thrive on face-to-face contact with their educators. Students especially perform better when in a classroom with an engaging teacher to help and guide them in their work. It has caused many students, parents, and teachers to experience the online education system, which has also put many at financial expenses of procuring mobile phones, laptops, tabs, network connections, and more. In many areas, there are poor network connections where students and teachers have communicating problems. Even though the presence of both are there, but still there is a communication gap. There is nothing like a face-to-face interaction in a classroom where students and teachers interact in a personal way, meaning doubts and queries are clarified and explained, which is more effective. The teachers and management are also under a lot of stress with time scheduling. Our outdoor activities such as athletics, cross-country, and games cannot be performed in an online class, which has reduced the enthusiasm of many students. Having a break off even during summer and winter vacations, students do go down in their memory status. Now, since it's been 18 months, it's a really high time that we get back to a normal way in the classroom. Not forgetting the precautions that have to be taken from the lesson learned from the pandemic, namely social distancing, hygienic hand washing, wearing masks, and also the awaiting of the vaccine, which is yet to be introduced for children under 18. So, therefore, I conclude my speech by saying the sooner schools open, it is beneficial for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Melvina.
Malvina, in the beginning of your speech, since most of it was about testing, standardized testing will be a priority. For what little time children that are actually physical in school, how much of their time will be spent testing rather than learning?
Actually, they're not going to test the full time, right? They're just going to put their vaccination and come to school, or if they don't put the vaccinations also, if the precautions are being taken, there's nothing to test.
Yes, Neelam? You have another question?
Can I ask her another?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, Melvina, since you brought up the vaccination point in your previous answer, the most vulnerable group going to be affected by the third wave are those who are not yet vaccinated. So that leaves us with students below 18 years of age. So how does this logic work with schools reopening?
So as you see, vaccines take their own time, about 3 to 4 years to get released. But this being a world battle, we children have to wait for the fruits of the survival to make a better tomorrow.
Yes. Education is our passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to the people who prepare for it today. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Neelam of Standard 9, will be going against the topic that physical school should begin by August 2021. The most infamous pandemic, the Spanish flu, which affected large parts of the world population, is an example to what we are facing right now, which is why we must take precaution. If we open schools, cases will spread no matter how many masks are distributed or temperatures are checked. Cleaning surfaces is not enough. We know that the virus is still in the air. No matter how many times you clean a student's desk, the floor, or doorknobs, it still may not be safe. The required social distancing is not developmentally appropriate for young children, and children will not be able to meet these expectations. Elementary students in particular do not yet have the self-control or awareness necessary to follow these social distancing guidelines. Attempting to force students to behave when they know the consequences, their friends or their family, it's just for anxious, unhappy, and fearful children. And may I remind you that even if students did perfectly social distance, the mask did not prevent infection, they just reduce the risk. The virus is still in the air. Instruction will be drastically less effective. Because of the inability to share material and work in collaborative groups, teachers will be forced to rely heavily on direct instruction, which is teacher-centered and less effective than student-centered instructional strategies. Children will not be able to work together, play games, or do any of the everyday activities that make school fun. And as we are learning in the digital age, online learning helps in future opportunities. The emotional safety will be lost. Children will not be able to have any meaningful sentence of a community that gives a classroom semblance. Schools reopening will cause more interaction between community members. Teachers will be out and about more often and then into the workers and janitorial staff will also have increased exposure to the virus and will be circulating throughout our community at an increased rate. This will lead to a higher prevalence of virus in area near schools, which is pretty much everywhere. Therefore, in conclusion, when should schools physically reopen? The best answer is not yet. When and where there is a reasonable confidence that the spread has been contained, a gradual staggered reopening can be considered. But let's not forget that there can be subsequent waves with possible local lockdowns and containments. You cannot easily separate schools from the community. And if you really want to reopen schools according to our situation right now, you should avoid transmission schools. Then the risk should be less in the community. Thank you.
Thank you, Neelam and Melvina. Our next two participants, we have Bala and Rihanna. Judges, please note, Bala is unable to attend today's debate as he's not keeping well. So we'll go in with Rihanna's speech. Yes, Rihanna.
Good afternoon, respected judges, principal, teachers, and fellow students. I am Rihanna Dechima of grade 8A, and today I'm speaking against the topic. Unpredictable pandemic. The second wave of COVID-19 creeped upon us, and before we knew, things went out of control. Reopening of schools for the current academic year has become a distant dream. The biggest reason to delay school reopening is to stop the spread of COVID-19. Online classes reduces the risk of children getting infected and in turn spreading of the virus. Even though children have healthy antibodies, if infected, they become asymptomatic carriers of the virus. Many parents in India have been opposing the reopening of schools as the virus is spreading at a high rate and the vaccination for children are still in early stages of trial. A report in America suggests that COVID clusters were found in many states a few days after schools were reopened. With new variants emerging, it may bypass our immunity and circulate quickly, making the predicted third wave much more serious and dangerous. Restrictions have been lifted in most of the places, and with only 4% of the population fully vaccinated, we are still in danger of the third wave within a few weeks. The government has not yet taken any decisions on reopening schools. Even if physical schools are reopened, it is not an easy task to make sure that small children maintain social distance, wear their masks, and wash their hands frequently. Schools reopening is highly unlikely considering the risk factor involving lives of the younger generation. Therefore, I would like to conclude that physical school should not be reopened in August 2021 without considering the consequences. Thank you.
Rihanna, I'd just like to ask whether without coming to school, students will in some way be able to be promoted or sit for their board exams or get their mark sheets, and it will not affect their future because their future depends on getting into colleges and their future course of study, especially for the higher secondary students, 9, 10, 11, and 12.
Ma'am, right now the future is unclear. We have to be saving lives instead of risking lives. So,
But if they're able to come back to school and then if things get worse, probably we can give them another break. But staying at home, I think, is not helping the student or the education system or the teachers or the schools in any way. And somehow I think getting them back into a regular routine would be a better option.
definitely, ma'am, but right now it's more important in saving our lives than risking it. Even though you're just promoted, it's more important to survive in this pandemic.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Rihanna. Our next two participants, we have Goel and Royston. Goel will be speaking for the topic and Royston will be speaking against the topic.
Online schooling can be the greatest source of stress and anxiety, whereas physical schooling can be the best source of education. Good afternoon to one and all present here. My name is Goel Abhijit S, representing Hamilton House, standing for the topic. Although online classes can be the best source of education during this pandemic, it has a very bad effect on our mental and physical well-being. The lack of human interaction has led to social isolation, which in turn has resulted in stress and anxiety. The lack of physical activities which we normally have during physical schooling has made us inactive and has led to obesity. The excess time spent in front of the screen has led to chronic neck, bad posture, eyesight problems, sleeping problems, and lower productivity levels. On stating that, I would like to elaborate more on the rate of productivity, which has gone down from a 95% to a 45% due to the lack of interaction between the teachers and students and the lack of concentration during online classes. Students are facing connectivity issues, making it more difficult for students to understand on what's being said. And students below the poverty line cannot afford mobile phones, laptops, and desktops to attend online classes. Has anyone ever given a thought to the literacy rate post-pandemic? Speaking of that, I would also like to consider the 160 million students who were covered under the midday scheme are now deprived of it. And that is a threat to the country's step to combat the problem of malnutrition. Since students who are dependent on their midday meals for their nutrition do not have access to it. Sitting at home has also reduced the motivation to study, and the spirit of competition among the students have reduced. The very essence of values taught during physical schooling is absent when schooling happens virtually. The behavior of punctuality and the skill of time management taught in physical schooling is absent when classes happen in online platforms, and that has led to the decline of academic progress. Online classes are also a threat to our communication skills in English, since we lack interaction with our teachers and classmates. We stay put in the comfort of our mother tongues and therefore have lost command over the language. Considering the effects of online classes on our education, physical and mental well-being, I would like to conclude by saying schools ought to open by August 2021 before any further damage. Thank you.
Goel, I agree with all your points, but how many lives are you risking? And how many lives do matter to you when it comes to this case?
We are not going to risk lives if we start, we take tests, we follow the points that the government has given, like social distancing, wear a mask, use sanitizers. If we start following that, we're not going to risk any lives.
Well, tell me, how long are you going to keep social distancing? Is it always possible to do social distancing, sanitizing, or even taking a break from?
If we start taking tests, we don't need to maintain a social distancing. Maintain social distancing.
If you keep taking tests, then what will happen once you start to learn? You said your productivity goes down.
Yeah, taking tests doesn't take like so much time. It just takes probably 2 minutes.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Royston Collins of Standard 9, am standing firmly against the topic physical school should begin by August. I can't fathom how my opponent claims to say that physical school should begin by August when doctors and scientists have repeatedly said that there is a possibility where the virus may mutate further to an extent that it affects children more in the third wave. I would like to tell my judges, if schools are open, then they will inevitably close almost immediately. No matter how many masks are distributed or temperatures are taken, we know that this virus can be transmitted before any symptoms, including fever, are shown. And when schools do close again, it will mean even more disruption and disappointment for students. If we look at the global scenario, many countries reopened schools and then saw rise in cases and had to shut schools again. 50%, Delhi had 50% zero positivity, and still we saw what happened in the second wave. We can't take this for granted as the virus keeps changing. No matter how many times the students' desks or the floors, doorknobs or washrooms are cleaned, I still don't feel safe, as we all know that COVID is capable of hanging in the air for hours. I find it surprising that this well-known fact is never discussed. Elementary students, in particular, do not yet have the self-control or awareness to follow the guidelines of social distancing, forcing children to behave like automatons when they know the consequences of failure could be deadly. Standard testing will be the priority rather than studies. Schools reopening will cause more interaction between community members. Will Teachers will be traveling by private or own vehicles to gas stations and then to classrooms. Parents, bus drivers, sub-staff, all will have increased exposure to the virus. This will lead to higher risk of COVID in areas near schools. Teachers and students will die. It is an inevitable fact that when schools open, cases will spread throughout schools and homes. Teachers and students are likely to be the first to get infected, even if it takes 2 to 3 weeks to see the consequences. We will see it. It was and will be difficult to manage the frantic rush. I hereby conclude my speech by saying physical school should not begin by August 2021. Thank you.
Royston, standard testing will take some time, but nowadays we have instant COVID tests. What do you have to say about that?
Well, I do accept that we do have all those modern technology, but what if you do have it and without, like I mentioned in my speech before, it can be transmitted anytime, anywhere. It can even be transmitted through air also.
Then how is it safe going outside even though you're not vaccinated? Like, tell me you've not gone at least once.
Actually, I have not gone.
But thank you for being a good citizen, but I'm looking at a bigger picture.
Okay, thank you. If we do our own part, then we will be safe.
Our next participants are Madonna and Janelle. Madonna will be speaking for the motion and Janelle against the motion.
If not now, when? What more needs to happen until schools reopen? Good afternoon to one and all present here. I'm Madonna of class 9B. I'm here to speak firmly for the topic. Physical school should begin by August 2021. By all accounts, COVID is not going away. A realistic timeline for universal full vaccination occurs in mid to late 2022. Do our children deserve another year of being shortchanged on their education? Much learning will be lost, and these losses will most likely be skewed in the direction of the poorest and most vulnerable population. Now, it's a well-known fact that children are more immune to the virus compared to adults. Severe illness that requires hospitalization is exceedingly rare among children. Experts say that keeping a child out of school for too long can affect their mental health and their education. Because when a child goes to school, they don't just learn from the teacher. Interacting with peers helps with emotional enrichment and development of social skills. Now, this nationwide lockdown has closed over 1.5 million schools and impacted 24 crore students across India. And studies are beginning to document the effects of social isolation on students. Plus, there is so much parental exhaustion in supporting online learning. Costs are also unarguably higher for children who come from lower income families. According to UNICEF's Remote Learning Reaching report, only 24% of Indian households have access to internet at home, with a sharp urban and rural divide. About 13 lakh Anganwadis across the country provide 6.4 crore children under the age of 6 with hot, nutritious meals and vaccination. Midday meals provided to over 9.8 crore children studying in government schools keep malnutrition and stunt growth at bay. Food insecurity and the loss of school-based healthcare services potentially create widening healthcare disparity. Children staying at home are also more vulnerable to abusive family members and have neither the support of teachers and friends nor the escape of school. The Childline 1098 helpline has seen a 50% increase in the number of calls received since the beginning of the pandemic. Many teens have also dropped out of school or decided not to go to college. And while some of them may go back, most will not. Now, as you all know, there has been a huge medical response to COVID, and politicians have stepped up to protect the economy, which will bounce back once herd immunity is achieved. But a kid who decides to drop out of school, that's an entire life change. Now, education is a continuous cycle of give and take, and so many people's livelihoods depends on this cycle. Those people being our teachers and support staff. They have so many roles in life, and they cater to every single one of them. And the least we can do is provide them with financial stability. And reopening schools allows us to do so. This is why I firmly believe that physical schools should begin by August 2021. As Dieter F. Uchtdorf once said, it is your reaction to adversity, not adversity itself, that determines how your life story will develop. Thank you.
Donna, would you rather go to school and get COVID or stay home and attend online classes?
I would actually rather go to physical school because as long as we follow the COVID guidelines, we are significantly safe. And you can't say that children won't listen or children are irresponsible, because for a child who's been living in a pandemic for over a year, we can't ignore the fact, we can't stay ignorant, because we do know the dangers of the virus. So we're not going to, continue to just break the rules for no reason.
But there are dangers of the virus when you're living in, let's say, a boarding school. You all sleep in the rooms same next to each other, and when you all eat together, aren't you taking off your masks and being in danger?
If you were sick or something, why would the school allow you to enter? You could have still stayed
COVID
back.
symptoms don't enter after 15 days. The symptoms don't show that early, so you never know.
Well, if a student can get tested, once the student gets tested, the school can give them a 4-week gap so that they can find out if they have actual symptoms or not, and then they can enter the school.
By then, the symptoms could have already spread, right?
Yes, Madhuna, would you like to answer that question?
even if the symptoms does spread, it's only between the family members, and by that time they should know that the entire family should know that if you're getting tested, if a person in your family is getting tested, you also have to stay inside to prevent that. Supposing you do get it, you don't spread it to other people.
What if the student gets COVID during school?
Then they can send them back. Why would you keep a person who was with COVID and still in school?
Said
We send
if
them to a hospital, right?
you get it during
You
school,
can get the
the
rest of the
symptoms
students
spread,
tested.
right? A brush with death always helps us live our lives better. An apt quote by Paulo Coelho. Good evening, respected principal, sir, honorable judges, teachers, and my dear friends. I, General Elliot of Class 9B, vehemently oppose the topic physical school should begin in August 2021. According to the worldometers.info, there were more than 190 million COVID cases, 4 million deaths, and even now as we breathe, 12 million active cases in the world, with numbers increasing due to the new variants of Delta and Delta Plus. And my opponents still want to go to school. The past years of 2020-21 have been nightmares for people all across the globe. COVID-19 struck its first blow in China and other parts of the world without showing discrimination for creed, color, or religion. People cried relentlessly as their loved ones were separated from them and taken to hospitals and kept in isolated wards, and many died without a loving touch or even a goodbye. Do you remember the sands of the Ganges? Not even a proper burial. I ask my worthy opponents, are you unaware of the crisis? According to the director of AIMS, New Delhi, Dr. Randeep Guleria, the third wave is inevitable and imminent, most likely sweeping in August-September. He also pointed out that parts of the country, both government and public, are complacent and engaged in mass gatherings without following COVID protocol. If adults become careless, do we have to follow in their footsteps? Coming to my next point, why do we need to go to school now? Aren't online classes fulfilling our academic needs? Even our extracurricular activities are being conducted online, and don't we enjoy them? The best example being today's virtual debate. Even physical activities can be conducted within the four walls of your homes. Some of my friends might say that boarding schools have safe environments. God forbid, even one would catch the disease, it would become a super spreader, and I'm sure you would not like to become that guinea pig. I'd like to ask my opponents, how many of you are vaccinated? Not one of you can say yes. Why? Because the vaccines are only provided to those above 18 years of age. Let's talk about child rights. Don't we have the rights to a good health, our rights to a safe environment for education, the right to be protected from violence, and the right to our own opinion? Well, my opinion is that schools should not open until we are all vaccinated. Members of the jury, we have survived this 1.5 years by staying at home and following COVID protocol. I believe that within a few months more, all will be vaccinated. So why risk our lives by going to school when we can just wait a few months more? Live today to play tomorrow. I rest my case. Thank you.
Okay, so your entire speech has been about how the students are affected due to this. So what about the people who work behind the scenes? So what about the support staff? Aren't they getting laid off their jobs because there's no need for them anymore? How do they survive outside? How do they survive out in life?
Well, that's not part of that's not part of school or COVID. That's not part of the topic.
No, for a school to fund, of course, students are very important, is a very important part of school, but it's not the only thing. There are teachers and support staff that are also there, right? They are also
Teachers can
helping
teach
to make.
online.
Yeah, teachers can teach online. And what about the people who are losing their jobs because physical schools are closed down? What is your solution to make sure that they also can get a
They're
job?
not part of education. This topic is about education and when schools should open, not about the staff members and
For the normal functioning of a school, we need support staff. Okay, and even though it's not about education, what will you do about their lives? Don't they also have their own families and their own children to take care of?
Yes, they do, but they're part of a school, and right now we're only talking about students and their education when schools should open. I don't care right now about a physical school opening. right now only online school should matter because of the big case of COVID when people can actually die.
Then what about the rest of the bus drivers and caterers in a residential, not in a residential school,
They
in
should
a
find
day
a way
scholar
to
school?
survive.
Yeah, but that's because school is closed down. So don't you think that it's not fair to them? Because they
Might not
also
be,
have
but
their own life.
it might not be, but that's not our fault right now. We
Okay,
can't help
Jeanette,
what happened with COVID. We
Verona,
can't control it.
we'll keep this point also when we are waiting for the judges to tally, and then we will continue. Our last part, thank you, both of you, for putting forth your opinions and your views on the topic. Next, Kopika will be speaking for the topic and Angel will speak against the topic.
Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Kobika, representing the Plummer House, speaking firmly for the topic that physical classes should begin by August 2021. COVID pandemic has left the entire world into a standstill position, be it commerce or education or maybe entertainment or tourism. As the world has started thinking of getting back to their feet and help the crumbling situation to recover, we think of education and its status in the advent of this deadly pandemic. In other countries, schools serve primarily as centers of learning. There, the trade-off between health and education holds. But the same thinking cannot be applied to India. Food is the driving force to attend school for many rural school students. The enrollment of children under the midday meal scheme increased from 33.4 million at its launch to 118 million in 2019. School is not just a place where there's an exchange of academics or learning process between the teacher and the taught. There are various aspects in school learning, and nothing can either be ignored or taken lightly. Interactions are the best things that happen throughout the time. This is where the learning portals of a student gets unfolded, their skills get developed, and they flourish. The third angle of a learning process, which is enormously important, is the practical aspect of learning, which takes place outside the classroom, but within the vicinity of the school. Closing schools exacerbates the existing problems of child abuse and trafficking. Children staying at home are vulnerable to abusive family members and have neither the escape of school nor the support structure of teachers and friends. Extended school closures are forcing women to quit their jobs and engage in full-time childcare. This will accelerate India's declining female labor, and losing an additional source of income will also force households back into poverty. A recent research survey conducted among 18,000 students revealed that only 27% of the students have smartphones and laptops to attend their classes. At the end, WHO itself suggests that the spread of COVID-19 within educational settings are limited. Therefore, I would like to conclude my speech by telling that let's ensure that we do not look back at this crisis as a time where we set up ourselves for sickness and economic failure later in life. It's time to safely reopen schools and secure our future. Thank you.
Kobika, I think many students live with their parents and their grandparents. So if they're going to attend classes, they may risk the lives of their grandparents too, even if they're not being risked to the virus that much.
Yes, but we're at a boarding school.
What about day schoolers?
They're tested, right? They have symptoms.
You can be tested and catch the coronavirus anytime.
They're being tested and they can be hospitalized, right?
No, if you catch the coronavirus in school, the child may get over it, but then if they pass it on to their grandparents living at home, it may be crucial for their health.
According to the WHO, only up to 80 to 47, the COVID condition is crucial. Above 50 is not that crucial. And when we follow the precautions, I don't think it would spread.
If you follow it can prevent it, but it won't eradicate it. So it's still there. You always have a chance of developing COVID-19. Even as schools have already begun across a few countries due to the widely thought misconception of children being low risk to the coronavirus, the cases have almost gone up above 200,000 and more. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I, Angel of Plummer House, stand firmly against the topic. When children attend the classrooms physically, especially during a pandemic, they pose a great risk to themselves as well as others around them, as the coronavirus has been proven to spread quicker through enclosed doors and much more an enclosed building. The reopening of educational institutions will pose a great risk to the public as well as the students. For example, a student traveling by public transport and conveyances contracts the virus and infects the other passengers, risking their life as well as the public's life. If schools do reopen and an outbreak occurs, the frantic rush of parents and children would be hard to manage, overworking doctors and healthcare facilities. In India, there are many multi-generational households with children living with their parents and their grandparents. This may pose a risk to the older adults in the house, even if not the child themselves. Besides, only 12.9% of India's population have been fully vaccinated. Far worse, not even one child. I would like to conclude my speech by saying the physical reopening of a classroom will pose a great threat to society as well as cause super spreading events all across the country. Thank you.
Home, you do not only stay at home. You go to cinema theaters, malls, restaurants, and so. Don't you think that you would get the virus easily than being at school?
I mean, everyone has a conscience not to go to cinemas, and it's not even open at these times. The government themselves have closed it. So how are you supposed to go to cinemas?
Okay, leave that. At malls shopping?
I think that's a necessity, but I think if you can attend the classrooms virtually, why do you need to go to physical classrooms?
Robika, are you convinced?
Yes, ma'am.
Making decisions, especially the ones have great severity and related to physical health, can be very difficult indeed. When the decision is not a clear-cut, easy choice, it is even harder. As more people are able to fight this virus, there is hope that everyday life, including schools, may soon get back to normal. All schools should aim to have students attend school in person, which is how they learn best. This means working with public officials to get the community spread of the virus under control, and then once a school can reopen for in-person learning, layers of safety measures can help the students and teachers to be safe. We should remember school during this time may not feel like the normal for a while, but whatever form of school takes, it requires everyone's support to make sure that it is healthy, safe for the students, staff, and families. By the time our judges tally their scores and they gave us their views, I think we had some children who were interested in continuing their debate.
Okay, so you mentioned, so you have said that that support staff losing their jobs is not our problem and it's their problem. And frankly, I think that what you said was very insensitive towards them because they are employed by the school. So if they lose their jobs, isn't it the school's problem? And the topic was not education, it was physical schools.
I said it's their they have to find a job on their own, and it's not the school fault that they lose their job. The schools never know when corona is going to enter, when another deadly virus is going to come, right? So they can't help it.
Okay. schools are employing all these people to make sure that the school can function properly. And because of closing down physical schools, so many people are losing their jobs. So don't you think that it's unfair for them not to have, if you don't know what support staff, it's caterer, it's bus drivers, administrative office, and it's for our school, caterers, maidens, wardens, who are they? They're all people. You can't just ignore that they
You
don't have
can't
their
help
jobs and say that
them
it's
with
their
a
job.
deadly virus. You can't do anything about it, right? Do you want them to just die or be without jobs?
Every single one of them have their own families to support. If everybody kept saying, you figure out how you have to live your own life, how do you think they would feel?
They're going to support the
It's
children.
literally
They have
it's
to
literally
find out
them against the
ways to
entire
support
world.
them. Listen, it's not their fault. It's not anyone's fault that COVID suddenly came, right? So if they have to lose their jobs and go out of their way to find something new, that's their responsibility.
Yeah, but you think that it's their fault, then why are they getting employed by the school? Don't you think it's also the school's responsibility to make sure that they are also financially stable? Like they also have their own lives to take care of, their own family to take care of, their own like personal achievements to attain. So how can you say that it's not our responsibility, it's theirs?
It is their responsibility. They're grown people. They can take care of themselves.
Without a job, how are you supposed to take care of yourself? No money.
You find one, you employ for new ones, right? If you lose a job, you can't tell them, no, you have to take me back. You have to find new things to do.
Okay, because of COVID itself, like people are not giving out more jobs, not giving that many jobs out. And even people if you keep taking jobs, big corporate companies cannot afford to
There you go,
continue.
your answer's right there. Not many jobs are given. So how do they find jobs? Not many jobs are given.
Okay, thank you. I would request Mrs. Deborah Fox.
Yes, so firstly, I want to congratulate all the participants, all of you who took part in this competition. All of you are winners, no matter what the outcome. Debating is it is a team effort. You should work closely with your teammates. Be confident, keep eye contact with your competitors, try to engage what the audience is reacting. I know this time it was a virtual debate, and it was not the normal run of things, but otherwise, yeah. So like I said, I congratulate each and every one of you. Debating will give you the confidence to move on in life. This is like a stepping stone for all of you. And no matter, whether school reopens or not, I know many of you are waiting to get back to school, but there are also, anxieties of parents and other people. So whatever the outcome, I hope that it all works out for the best, whether you go to school in August or not. Thank you.
I request Mrs. Pamela Clark to please give us your views, ma'am.
It's a lovely opportunity to share this afternoon with each one of you, and I'd love to congratulate all the participants, and it's a job very well done. We have been threatened with the internet teaching for the last 18 months and more, and it's been an ordeal. Overnight, we were able to shift because we have that power of resilience in us, shift from physical teaching to online teaching. A lot has been invested, a lot of training sessions and digital equipment. And in the process of learning, we have also enhanced our own teaching skills. And that's been a great plus point for the teachers. Parents have had their own concerns about eye strain and misuse of the mobile. And here we were at one point in time telling the parents not to give their children the use of the mobile. And now we had to plead with them and tell them, please, buy mobiles for your students so that they will be able to log in and benefit from online teaching. There have been many pros and cons, and it's been a great process of learning. India has learned a lot. We have moved in the health department to a higher level than what we were in so many years. And I think it was a good wake-up call, the pandemic, COVID-19. It's brought out value of family life, home life, staying at home. It's brought out teamwork, caring for another. Till then, we never realized the value of teachers. We never realized the value of medical staff and the challenges that each faces was so different from our own expectation. So we have to say thank you to COVID-19 for teaching us quite a few of such valuable lessons. We praise and thank God that we are alive, though we've lost quite a few of our loved ones, especially students and parents of students. And we do mourn their loss. And we realize that nothing is predictable. Everything, we've learned to live from day to day. Today it's a bright sunny morning, and by 11 o'clock down comes the mist and the rain, and the wet weather prolongs for 2-3 days. So we're not able to predict anything at all about the future. Two concerns, of course, and if we're able to overcome those two challenges, I'm sure we'll be able to handle the situation better. One is the choice of vaccination, or the mode of choice of the vaccine itself and the mode of operation. And provided we have good, the second concern is provided we have a good health plan for children, for adults, for the aged, for the senior citizen, we will not be able to overcome
I think ma'am is having some internet problem.
a lovely topic, and we're very happy that I'm very happy that I was invited to be one of the judges, and it was excellent debating skills with the rebuttal round, and very well done, children. Like ma'am said, everyone is a winner. May you grow from strength to strength, and may the school that is so well known for its debating forum be able to tap in on your resources and build each one's potential and make you ready for the world, and especially your board exams next year and your future. God bless you all. Thank you so much.
We request our third judge, Mr. Stephen George, to say a few words on the topic and give our children the feedback of how they have spoken.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you again for the opportunity to listen in. And I think I've learned so much, a lot of things I didn't know before. I must flag the kind of research you're doing. I understand you're in grade 9. So it's remarkable the kind of information you've been able to pull up, and not just pull up that information, but actually put it together in coherent thought. That is always very difficult. Today, I think content or information is a low value commodity. We can find it everywhere, but trying to put that information together to make a strong argument and to build your case, that's a tremendous achievement. And all of you, I think, did a great job with that. So congratulations. My fellow judges have talked about the topic, so I think I'll restrict my comments to the students and just offer you some of the impressions that I had as I was listening to you. So I thought the main challenge was to sort of deliver the argument in appropriate language So I think we don't speak like this day to day. It's always a challenge to speak in formal language and try and make that sound natural. So that's an area that I think you will grow in as you have more experience in these kind of arenas. How do you bring your comments together in a way that maintains what we're calling appropriate language here? How do you communicate those ideas in formal language and yet make it seem natural? So that's a potential area in which you can build your respect or your credibility as you're forming your argument. I thought all the questions were very pertinent. You were looking at some of the questions were particularly good because they responded directly to your opponents, which meant that you were thinking on your feet and you were asking very relevant questions, which is very important. Sometimes we can default to premeditated questions. We can already decide what we're going to ask before the person has spoken. But in your cases, I think you've actually listened to what your opponent has shared and then talked about that. So congratulations on that too. Thinking on your feet is a very important debating skill. I think the other thing that I was impressed with was actually trying to form an original argument, because all of us are looking at the same information, we're quoting much of the same statistics. How do we then put all of this together to bring something out that is truly original? I think a couple of you did that really well. I must comment on Kobika. I think you put forth a very original argument about schools and the role they play in India versus schools and the role they play abroad, or in other countries, or perhaps even developed countries. That was a very, very original angle of looking at education in India and sort of taking our context and saying how different it is, and therefore the considerations that we have to be different from the considerations that administrators in other countries will naturally have. And again, Madonna and Janelle, I thought you all did a great job of just your delivery was very natural. That's a challenge always, particularly with the tension of trying to string together a coherent argument. So good job on that. And again, I just want to congratulate you. I can't believe that all of you all are in grade 9. I think when I was in grade 9, it'd be a privilege to have this kind of exposure and an opportunity like this. So all the very best in the days, weeks, and years to come. And I look forward to seeing the ways in which each of you grow. Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Gopinath.
Thank you. Definitely most of the good, valuable views and suggestions have already been well expressed by our panel of eminent judges. I'm happy to add a few ideas or suggestions there. Definitely, our youth are about 50% of India's population. When it comes to the youth strength more, we have the maximum of youngsters there. So their safety is foremost. So definitely all safety norms will be adopted and only then schools will begin, that is for certain. But most of the speakers spoke very well. And definitely, as also to add to that, two of them from probably in standard 8. And Goel and Raina Dechima were also excellent with their views and rebuttal, and very poised and very steady, very confident with their answers, and very polite too, which would be definitely an added feature. And also maybe looking at a proper perspective where definitely once this vaccine is ready for children and once they are vaccinated, I think the process of any risk as educationers, in the words of noted Prime Minister, already all those who are vaccinated are 40 crore Bahubalis. We hope that in the near future, 50 to 60% of our population would be vaccinated and we would develop a herd immunity. And I think once no risk factor about the third wave is being heard, I think definitely that would be an appropriate time to start schooling without formal schooling without much interference. And thanks once again to the eminent panel and everybody for giving me a chance to ask my opinion. Thank you.
Good evening, respected judges, respected principal, teachers, students. The topic, I think, can be answered in two parts. Physical school should begin, definitely yes. By August 2021, well, that's highly debatable. I think the highlight of this pandemic has been its uncertainty. Even the most strongest governments in the whole world have been grappling with decision making, because there is no saying of what's in hold the next day. So we can only pray that by some miracle the schools can reopen in August. But otherwise, yes, reopening depends on a lot of parameters, and let's all hope for the best. Thank you.
Good evening, ma'am, and good evening, judges and everyone in the panel now. Actually, our country's situation is different from many developed countries, actually. See, if you take US population only 30 crore, but if you take the death rate there, it is more than our country. Our population is actually 139 crore. So we are actually successful in controlling the pandemic in that way. And one more thing, everyone should follow SMS. And in radio, every day they are telling follow SMS. That is social distancing, mask, and then we have to actually sanitizer we have to use. So each and everyone should take responsibility of controlling this pandemic. Then only our children can come back to school safely, and everyone should vaccinate themselves also. But in our country, if you take our population, definitely it will take more time to vaccinate the entire Indian population. So because the number is more and we have to produce also, so the production won't happen just like that. So vaccine, we have to, it should be safe and it should be produced properly. So soon I think everyone will be vaccinated. Our country will be free from this pandemic. So that only everyone's wish. May God help us to reach that condition. Thank you all.
Good evening to the headmaster, principal, teachers, and honorable judges. My name is Kyle Joshua Gerson. Today I'm going to say being in physical school is just awesome, as we can be present in a lot of events. Today, when a month after a month of announcements and extensions, it is difficult to predict when schools will restart. Schooling is supposed to be looked after the emotional, social, and behavioral health of the children, which is dramatic or opposite to social distancing when the school has fully prepared for the children's health. Then why not parents give our school to function with the students physically there, so we can enjoy every part and event in our school. Thank you.
Sir, good evening to everyone present here. So I would like to say that students were arguing with job opportunities for non-teaching staffs also. So in that point, I want to highlight that in last week, Hyderabad, they given data that 4,000 schools has been closed in Hyderabad. Private schools has been closed in Hyderabad around Telangana, post-pandemic and pre-pandemic. So 60% of what to say?
Unemployment.
Yes, unemployment has been raised in private sector. So this pandemic has taught the people to think in a different aspect. So the students have to understand the problems of unemployment, how to overcome the unemployment rather than vaccination and other thing. Unemployment is a big issue in this pandemic situation. So highlighting the unemployment is also a big task in this situation. So that point I want to highlight. That's why I just thank you for giving us.
Thank you, sir. But I think so we are proud enough to say that our school has not laid off any of our sub-staff. Each and every one are still on our roll.
Okay, good evening to everyone present on this virtual platform. Would firstly like to congratulate all my speakers for this evening and this afternoon that we have spent. You were absolutely amazing. Okay, it was a real pleasure to watch and witness the debates that you have come up with. And I think you would have done a better job when he was called to CNN to come in for an interview for a similar topic, which when will parents be willing to come to school? After listening to you, I said, wow, there's so many points that I could take in from these young children. That was one reason also which I thought of this topic. because every now and then when I receive a call from my parents, the question arises, so when will schools reopen? So I said, fine, let me ask my children. I think they'll be the best judges to answer this question well. And I think you have done a wonderful job, dear children, by putting in your points, both for the motion and against the motion. As a principal, I always believe school should open. And I always keep, talking to my other colleagues in the Nilgiris and everywhere abroad that it's time school should open. But listening to today's debate, I think many of these children frightened us. They are pointing out fingers and saying, do you want to live or do you want to go and study? My goodness, that was really threatening the principal. So it was good. It was nice. It was very, very entertaining. You opened a lot of insights with this topic. And I'm sure the judges for this evening, Ma'am Deborah Fox, Ma'am Pamela, and Mr. Stephen, they will agree with me that the children were absolutely amazing. So let's give all these children who participated today a big, big round of applause. It feels good, dear children, even though you are confined to your homes, but the spirit that comes out of this inter-house debating proves that our children, even though they are at homes, the teachers, the house-masters, they're all working together for you to come up with such wonderful points and such wonderful arguments. What my observation was, most of you assumed in your debate, and you are very young to go think beyond that school means Laidlaw school. Okay. So in this particular topic, when we say school should reopen, it's not only Laidlaw school, it is all the schools around the world, or maybe all the schools in the country. As we can say it with great I can confirm and say that Laidlaw is a very secure and safe place, but that may not be the case with all the other schools in the country. So I think our government, the people sitting at the higher authorities are giving it a great thought. Should schools reopen? If it comes to a few boarding schools in the country, fine, we can say these people can take care of the situation. But when it comes to schools in the urban areas, okay, in the cities, I think it will be slightly difficult to manage the situations with COVID still around. So I will not take any sides right now. I think the students have spoke well. They have spoke well for the motion. They have spoke well against the motion. And I also like the rebuttal between Madonna and Janelle. Okay, these guys were fighting. And again, I'm really proud of Madonna to be so thoughtful about the people who have lost their jobs because of this COVID. And it's not a few, there are thousands and thousands of people who have lost their jobs. So you got to be considerate, and that was very well shown in Madonna. But at Laidlaw, it's a different story. Okay, at Laidlaw, I would like to congratulate and compliment my board of management and all the teachers and staff of Laidlaw School who are working, even though we are in a lockdown pandemic, that not a single person in this school has lost his job. And even though we are in a lockdown, all our matrons, our wardens, our drivers, our cooks who have to work when you are all there, they have all been getting their full salaries. So let's clap for the Laidlaw School and the management of the board. Well, I think it's 5:10 and I should come out with the results. And this has been a close contest, and we have seen some wonderful speakers emerging in this year's debate. Some of them were there last year and they also performed well. So I'll start from the 10th position. And before I declare the position, I would like to tell my children, like I tell every time, and I'll keep saying it again and again, that each and every one of you who participated today is a winner. You have taken the effort of coming up on this platform and expressing your views. Okay, nobody's a loser. It's just for the sake of, identifying one or two people or to give out certificates. We are going to give certificates to each and every one, okay, whether it's participation or position-wise. I think, but at the end of the day, the purpose is that you have come up and expressed your opinion, so you are a winner. And the good thing was that out of the 10 participants, we had I think 8 girls came up and spoke this afternoon. There were more girls than boys. So boys, please pull up your socks. I want to see more of you coming up on this platform, the girls taking over. But nevertheless, we had some nice junior boys like Goel was there. We had this boy, Royston was there. I think only 2 of them. One of them ran away, I think. So just 2 boys. So very well done to all the girls for coming up and speaking, and also to the boys that I want next time more young boys coming up and participating and winning. Actually, to come up to this debate, you have to be a winner in the previous rounds. So I think in all the previous rounds, the girls were the one who have, though they were equal in number in the first, second, and third round, but the final position, you have more of the girls. So the positions are as follows. Bala Nikesh was absent, so there's no 10th position. At 9th position with 109 points, we have Melvina. Let's give Melvina a round of applause. Can you please pin up these girls and boys as I'm calling out their names? Well done, Melvina.
Melvina, please switch on your camera.
Okay. At 8th position with 114 points, we have Angel. Angel, very well done. I can see us. I just saw her somewhere.
Thank you.
Well done, Angel. You put your points in very well and you made a great effort and you were really good. At 7th position with 115 points, just 1 point ahead, is Raina. Congratulations, Raina. Well done. The camera's on. You will come with the principal on the screen. You were amazing. And the best part was you were rebattling with the judges. Okay. So you were really, really good. Ma'am Pamela put a very difficult question to you, but you answered it well. So congratulations. Well done. At 6th place with 118 points, we have Kobika. Kobika, where are you? Congratulations and well done. I'm sure your parents and the family and the house made a great effort. Okay, so well done. Congratulations. At 5th place, we have a boy, Royston, with 119 points. Well done, Royston. And congratulations. You put up an excellent speech this afternoon. At 4th place, with 120 points, we have Madonna. Very well done, Madonna. Congratulations. Good speech, good points, and I like the rebuttal the best. Very well done. Now we have 2 children at the 2nd place and then 1 child at the 1st place. And we have 3 children left, right? So a boy and a girl at 2nd place. We have Neelam and Goel, both with 123 points at 2nd place. Very well done, Neelam. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Goel, this young boy in class 8, and he prepared his speech well. Congratulations to both of you.
Thank you, sir.
Very well done. At 1st place, we have Janelle with 132 points. Where is this Janelle? I think I've seen her somewhere before. Congratulations, Janelle.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, so generally we question the first speaker, and the speaker has to share with us what were your strategies and how did you plan and who helped you with this lovely debate that you had this afternoon.
So I would like to thank my parents. They helped me very nicely. I would like to thank my teachers and my friends for being such a good audience and actually helping me so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Very well done. So that was Janelle from Laidlaw House. So let's give all these young speakers who are in front of us today a very good round of applause. Thank you very much, dear children. And you have really made us feel proud today. Congratulations. I also have since we have come to the end of this juniors English inter-house debate, I have the scores for all the 3 rounds. I will declare the results now. At 4th place, generally we give them points. At 4th place, we have the Hamilton House. Well done, Hamilton. At third place, we have the Plumber House. Very well done, Plumber. At second place, we have the Coburn House. And at first place, we have the Laidlaw House. Mr. Pandey and Ms. Monica, congratulations once again. I think Laidlaw House has, out of the 3 rounds, you have done very well in all the 3 rounds, and you have secured the first position. So the inter-house debate for juniors goes to Laidlaw House. Please share with us your experience and how do you feel at the end of this debate?
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon to all the members here, the judges. Only word that I have to say is we are proud of our children. And thank you for making us proud children. If my seniors are here, if any of our, I don't think the leaders are here, sir. None of them are here. If anyone is here, I think it will be good enough if they could speak. Because they are taking...
No problem. You can mention the names, no problem.
Yes, sir. I would like to mention about Madonna, Neelam, and Janil, who took active part in all their debates. They were so good enough to find their own points and battle themselves. And I would like to thank all my leaders, especially the 12th standard and the 11th standard, who helped in preparing the debate, getting them prepared every evening. They stand by for each and every meeting, training them. So I congratulate those children, though they are not here. And I thank Sir, Mr. Manish Pandey, for helping us throughout. Thank you, children. Thank you for making us proud.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Monica. I now hand over back the mic to Shireen, our moderator.
On behalf of the school and the entire fraternity of the institution, first of all, I extend my sincere thanks to God Almighty for making today's event a resounding success. With His blessings and grace, we were able to make this event what it was. I would like to thank our judges who have spared time from their busiest schedule to judge our children. Today we have had an opportunity to hear the thoughts from them, and we also encouraged our children to be better in the future. An event like this does not happen overnight. There's a lots of work that is going on behind the scenes, not only by the staff, but also by the parents of children as they are on an online platform. I would like to thank all the parents for supporting their children and giving them the views and helping them to prepare their speeches. I would like to thank all the participants. Without them, this debate would not be possible. They have researched and they brought out their views on schools opening or not in August 2021. A special thanks to our principal, who has always been a support for all the activities that are taking place, let it be offline or on an online platform that we are on today. He has never let us down in anything that we do. I would like to thank our cultural coordinator, who has brought down all the judges, helped us and pushed us forward into what we are doing today. I would like to thank our headmaster, who's always a pillar of support, especially to the English department, and helping us to go ahead with all these debates. Last but not the least, all the staff who have worked behind the scene. It can be the administrative staff, Ms. Lina, who is the host, the IT department, and everyone that helped to make this event a wonderful success. Thank you, one and all. I request everyone to stand for the national anthem. Thank you once again to all our judges and everyone who were present.